Another one. Another one. Another one.
So, companions, huh? So it turns out companions are just about as strong as we imagined, or maybe even more so. And if you hop on Arena right now, you're bound to run into a ton of companion decks. So this video is going to cover 5 great ways to answer companions in Standard. So we're not going to talk about general strategies like just playing really aggressively so your opponent doesn't have time to use their companion, or playing a control deck to make sure your opponent never resolves their companion. Instead, we're going to be talking about specific cards you can add to your deck, either in the sideboard or in the main board, that will help you do better against companions in Standard. So without further ado, let's jump right in with number 5. Grafdigger's Cage. Grafdigger's Cage is a 1-mana artifact with the ability creature cards in graveyards and libraries can't enter the battlefield, and players can't cast spells from graveyards or libraries. So Grafdigger's Cage really only shuts down 2 companions, but it happens to be 2 of the most played ones, Lurrus of the Dream Den and Garuda, Doom of Depths. So Cage will stop Lurrus from being able to cast any permanents from the graveyard, and Cage will also stop Garuda from reanimating any creatures. So because Grafdigger's Cage only really shuts down a couple of the companions, it's at the number 5 spot on the list, but Grafdigger's Cage also just so happens to shut down other powerful threats in the format, cards like Uro, cards like Arc-like Phoenix. So Grafdigger's Cage versatility makes it a pretty great inclusion in your sideboard against these 2 specific companions. Then moving on to number 4, we have Hushbringer. Hushbringer is a 1/2 flying, lifelinking fairy that costs 1 and a white, and she has the ability, creatures entering the battlefield or dying do not cause abilities to trigger. So Hushbringer hits a few more companions compared to Grafdigger's Cage. It hits 4, Garuda, Yorion, Karuga, and Lutri. So Garuga's been seeing a lot of play in this sort of combo deck that's been built around it. Karuga's seeing some play in Fires of Invention decks, and I've seen a lot of people trying out Yorion the Sky Nomad. Lutri hasn't seen a lot of traction in Standard from what I've seen, but Lutri is performing really well in older formats like Legacy, so there's a chance that somebody could build a busted Lutri deck in Standard as well. Hushbringer incidentally also just hits on a lot of non-companion cards. Any deck that's trying to take advantage of enter the battlefield abilities, or sacrifice triggers, because she also stops abilities when creatures die, Hushbringer's going to perform well there. So similar to Grafdigger's Cage, Hushbringer's versatility in answering a lot of the most commonly played companions, as well as a lot of other heavily played cards in the format, puts Hushbringer at number 4 on our list. One thing you do want to keep in mind though is Hushbringer is really bad against Uro, so you probably want to avoid bringing it in against an Uro deck. So moving on to number 3, we have Ashe Ox Eraser. Ashe Ox Eraser is a 4-mana enchantment with flash. When it enters the battlefield, it exiles target spell. Your opponents can't cast spells with the same name as the exiled card, and when it leaves the battlefield, you return the spell to your opponent's hand. So Ashe Ox Eraser is the closest thing Standard has to Gideon's Intervention. Since the advent of powerful combo decks in Pioneer, decks like Inverter of Truth combo, Gideon's Intervention has been seeing a lot of play. Because if your opponent's deck is built around one primary strategy or card, being able to name that card and take it out of the equation forever is really powerful. And that's also where Ashe Ox Eraser is going to shine against companions. The companion ability kind of allows decks to be built around one card in particular, because you know you're always going to have access to that card. For example, decks like the Garuda combo deck, which are completely built around their companion, not only having it in the companion spot, but also running 3 copies in their main deck, being able to just cut off that strategy for good with Ashe Ox Eraser is very powerful. So if your opponent has a deck with a companion that's really built around that companion, Ashe Ox Eraser is just a really powerful way to completely shut down their deck strategy. And that puts it at number 3 on our list. So moving on to number 2, not only is this card a great answer, it's also a great budget option as an uncommon card, and that's Heartless Act. So Heartless Act is a 2-mana instant with choose 1, destroy target creature with no counters on it, or remove up to 3 counters from target creature. None of the companions enter the battlefield with counters on them, so Heartless Act is going to be a 2-mana instant speed answer to every companion. And even the cheapest companions are at least 3 mana, so killing your opponent's companion with a Heartless Act is always going to be a mana positive exchange for you. Being able to snipe the Zerta your opponent's deck is built around, or kill their Garuda with its trigger on the stack, so their clones won't have any targets to copy, is going to leave you in very good shape. And running Heartless Act in your main deck isn't even really a cost, because it's already a really powerful and versatile removal spell. So being a really great answer to companions, a really great answer to non-companions, and being uncommon would put this at number 1 on our list. But at number 1 we have a card that's simply the best at shutting down companions, and that's Drannith Magistrate. Drannith Magistrate is a 1/3 human wizard that costs 1 and a white, and he has the ability your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. That means if you control a Drannith Magistrate, your opponent just straight up cannot cast their companion. Drannith Magistrate is the latest in a long line of cards that are lovingly referred to as Hate Bears. So Hate Bears are small cheap creatures that are designed to shut down a certain type of play, and Magistrate seems specifically designed as a safety valve to shut down companions if they were stronger than Wizards intended. And similar to some other cards on this list, Drannith Magistrate also just so happens to be pretty good against some other threats in the field. Magistrate shuts down Uro, it shuts down Light Up the Stage, it shuts down Experimental Frenzy, but most importantly, Drannith Magistrate is effectively a Nevermore for every single companion. And that makes Drannith Magistrate probably the single best card you can put in your sideboard to deal with companions, and puts it in the #1 spot for the best ways to beat companions in Standard. So anyway, that's going to wrap up our list for the top 5 ways to beat companions in Standard. So let me know if you agree, or if there's any other great answers to companions you think I missed, let me know. This has been 2D, thanks for watching, and best of luck against those Garudas.